told you, Joe. Welcome, everyone. Even after producer Val tells me to pay attention to the screen, I'm just not going to do that anymore. That's fantastic. Welcome to Grim After Dark. My name is John. We are the Frontline Gaming Network's weekly interview show where we hit the high points of the last week in the Warhammer community. We talk to the best players and content creators from around the world about the one thing we all love, Warhammer. And next week, I promise to actually pay attention. Maybe. This week, we're going to be welcoming JT McDowell from Play on Tabletop, one of the guys who made 40K in 40 minutes cool before the London Grand Tournament Finals tried to. My co-host today, though, before we get there, needs some introduction. He's Danny. He's the kind of guy who spends $239 on the Games Workshop web store to make sure he doesn't get Sergeant Castus and not support this type of model release. Danny McDivett, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for introducing me. I want you to know that I absolutely did spend $240 to get Sergeant Cassius. So, jokes on you.
It is the cost of one Australian Primaris Marine. So really, we're just.
It's true. Why get a squad when you can get a school sergeant, right? Like,
yeah. Or spend $2,400 and get a squad of sergeants. It's the way they really want it to be done. I'm proud of you. Not surprised, but proud that you're getting that model. So before we go, Danny, giant controversy coming out of the Louisiana Open this weekend.
Oh, okay.
We can see this screenshot here from the beautifully produced and stunningly visualized GW stream.
Oh my God.
There was a lot of shoeless action going on in a public place. Not cool, guys. Not cool. I know, like, Mark Perry does it as a meme that like, I don't know, he hadn't find shoes that fit. But Danny, what's your opinion on not wearing shoes in public?
Look, to be honest with you, I already thought that GW had a no shirt, no shoes, no service policy, but apparently not. So
third party basis, no shoes, a-okay.
Yeah, just fine. It is foul. I mean, I hope that they put on some shoes before they went in the bathroom. I mean, we talked a little bit about that before the show, but who knows? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. They are beautiful white socks. And as the chat quite rightly just pointed out, white socks, red card. And that is also the name of someone's memoirs, probably from the Art of War there. Speaking of Art of War, the collective completed another sweep of the event. No, just John Lennon with his lucky socks.
There you go.
But the Art of War collective completed another sweep of the event with champion Richard Siegler, seen here celebrating the win with his closest friends and family, proving once again that AdMech are a force to be reckoned with. Danny, this week, this event, what was your take on sort of the results here? I know we saw like another Art of War top 3. Were there any surprises to you from kind of the rest of the field or any army compositions?
No.
Like,
all right.
Perfect.
So, like,
okay.
I mean, that picture though, right? Like.
Oh, by the way, that was actually taken. That picture was taken actually before the game, so it was just a nice picture. Someone turned into a really mean comment.
You can hear "One Is the Loneliest Number" like playing when you look at this picture. And
believe me, if FLGN was less afraid of copyright strikes, you would also hear "One Is the Loneliest Number" when we pulled that picture up.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, it's lonely at the top, man.
It sure is. But yeah, no real surprises coming out of the New Orleans, the Louisiana Open here. Again, Art of War top 3, lots of Sisters Drukhari coming up here. Again, Knights and other armies taking advantage of that terrain.
Yeah, to be fair, the Knights army was kind of a surprise. I mean, it's a really good army, but it's not. It's kind of surprising that it works so well in that terrain, which I think is great. That's a good sign. I really am interested to see more results from that terrain, and but all the other armies like Orc Buggies are still very good. We've got Drukhari, we've got AdMech. No real surprise finishers in that top 16. No. I feel like.
No, a number 4 overall for Death Card, which was quite surprising. But I think a lot of the line of sight blocking makes things like the Plague Burst Crawlers like way better. But I'm sure Thursday show will do a much better job of talking about that than I ever will. But something no one expected was how well the Frontline Gaming Network would do with their very own producer and FLGN creative overlord Val Heffelfinger taking home several awards, as we see showed here. Beautiful. These These were
Man.
absolutely awards for Val and the FLGN, and they were in no way left behind by Brad Chester. I just want to make that abundantly clear. Val made really good use.
Is that
of
like
last
the award for best producer or best content creator? Is that what that was for this weekend?
Well, let's don't go crazy here. Like Dan, you're the
fair.
face on this part here. You would be the content creator. But there is 2 trophies. Val made good use of last week's Googling of Joy Toy to properly celebrate the moment captured in this picture here. Which is the award lovingly laid out in a pillow, and thankfully we don't have any more footage from that event.
Yeah, I'm glad the awards by Joy Toy were such a big hit there. So that thing is serrated for your pleasure.
Yeah. And luckily for you, definitely check out, by the way, a lot of visual jokes in the first 15 minutes. If you haven't get it, definitely check out Grimdark FLGN on Twitter, where we do share all of these pictures right after the show with zero context. Because
all of our very best dildo jokes, John.
Well, Daddy, if you say it out loud, then it's a thing.
That's and also for the podcast listeners, John. They need some context.
You're also destroying the next few jokes, which are way better and more that way braced.
Oh, great!
Because we were speaking about Joy Toys, but the opposite of Joy and bit that's making its triumphant return after being off last week, the Black Templars. More things were announced, including this beautiful upgrade sprue. Danny, if you want to take us through this, and I apologize, Tyler, piece of upgrade.
Looks like we get some shotguns and a pintle-mounted multi-melta. We've got some cool swords and scabbards. I don't know, and then what appears to be some relics that you can WYSIWYG affix to your characters to represent chapter relics in your Crusade games, like that banner. Also, there's some hanging bone-like adornments.
There's a dick. Let's not let's not jump around it. I know we talked about being subtle about this here, but the internet is going crazy over the fact that one of the relics was literally a Joy Toy. Maybe this was part of they got a cheaper rate from Joy Toy to make those Marines. If they put this in there. But we've had a lot of fun this week looking at this upgrade sprue. And we're super excited to see what you, the viewing audience hobbyists, can do with this upgrade sprue.
I'm glad that the Black Templars have allocated a servitor specifically to polish that bone, baby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the servitors and the Black Templars are it's the worst job in the galaxy, because you're either polishing a sword, polishing a bone-shaped massage device, or you're holding guns for someone else.
A bone-shaped personal massager. Got it.
A personal massager, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, thank you, Black Templars. And we'll be back with more hate, because there's a couple more models that came out that didn't make this week's cut, but are truly awful. But the style guide says we got to save some jokes for next week, otherwise people are going to realize that we're not all that funny. Hey, more majors are happening. We are going from again the Louisiana Open for GW. Next gen events one of the next big events is going to be the New Orleans Open. Tickets are selling fast. Again, we talked last week about every host from Signals of the Frontline is going to be in attendance. So you're going to have Kicker, Shelby, you're going to have Seth, all there. And Danny, I'm really disappointed, and not only you, but Seth as well, because last week we put out a bounty, which says Seth, who can be seen here again, recording last week's episodes of Signal from the Frontline. Yeah, that's perfect. Just checking that chat. I'm so sorry. I think the professional or the style guide term for napping on the job is I'm just checking the chat real quick. But we said that if you were able to beat Seth at the New Orleans Open, again, Frontline's event coming up in New Orleans, you would get emailed your own certificate of appreciation from Danny for humbling Seth. Danny, that's both true. You and Seth messaged me over the weekend to say I'd have to say that's a beautiful certificate right there. 100% spent hours making and creating this, so it's a beautiful thing. But both you and Seth messaged to be like, looks like we're sending a lot of tokens or certificates out this weekend. And I'm like, dude, it's not for the GW event. Were you just that excited to see Seth fail?
I mean, yes, but also I don't really listen to myself talk, so I just kind of I wasn't really paying attention to what event this was for. So I'm happy to email. I'll personally email anybody who beats Seth. This you'll get one directly from my personal email address, with a signed copy of that and a picture of me congratulating you.
Yeah, which is, by the way, his email address is going to be bonerelicrubber at flgn.com. for all of your Danny needs. That's perfect.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bone Lover 40K, you got it. Yep, that's
Bone Lover 40K. Polish those relics. Oh, that's man. Right. Danny, I'm spent. I don't have any more jokes. We've spent too long. Too many of these segments were generally related. And so I think, why don't you take us through and let us know who our guest is to save our audience from our trash humor.
Good call. All right. So our guest, as soon as you hear his voice, you're going to know exactly who it is. He's the voice and
Morgan
the best...
Freeman.
Oh, no, we're not. No, John, we're not having him yet.
Okay.
That's in November. I hope you booked him like we talked about.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's what you get. All right. So anyway, you'll know him as soon as you hear his voice. You'll know him as soon as you see his exuberant face. He's the master of Play-On's Drukhari. We've got JT McDowell joining us tonight. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. It's really
good. JT just now will not speak because of how you feel tonight. Just like I refuse to talk.
I'm still trying to get over the bone polishing.
Powerful stuff.
I got nothing. I wish Drukhari had something as cool as that, but we just don't.
What they don't mention is the sixth organ that's added during the Primaris is the penis. They added back on. It's removed for baby Marines, added back on for Primaris. It's where the extra attack comes from.
It's that black carapace, the Lairman's organ, and then that makes sense.
The penis bone. The penis bone.
Yeah. Well, what's the official term for that organ there, Danny? I think you were mentioning it earlier as
it's Dicus Maximus, I'm pretty sure.
No, I thought he was a Roman senator, wasn't he?
Oh, sorry. No, it's the Land Raider.
Arkan Land.
Oh, Yuri my.
Arkan Land's greatest find wasn't the Land Raider. It was the Black Templar relic box.
Yes, gangster's pair of dice. That's actually why the Primaris Marines get an extra attack.
Yeah,
it's that it's that new organ.
Well, they only hit on threes because it's an average attack.
That's true.
But JT, welcome. Tell us a little bit about, so like as Danny mentioned, you do play on tabletop. We mentioned a little bit earlier about 40K in 40 minutes and how people would know you by your voice. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do.
Well, I'm the voice of 40K in 40 minutes for Play on Tabletop. We are heading into just wrapping up our third year. We've got our finals in the can, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Should be coming out pretty shortly here. We did a little differently this year. Those of you who followed along before have seen us do like a final wrap up, a final tournament. This year we're doing a 2-game aggregate scoring combination that's a little unique and different. So definitely tune in to check that out. But we do 40K in 40 minutes. We take a 2.5, 3.5, sometimes 4-hour game, condense it down into 40 minutes, give you some cool narration, tell you what's going on, show you the key moments, and let you watch an entire game over your lunch break. It's fun, it's fast, it's enjoyable. The editing is intense, the graphics are fun, and we really just have a heck of a lot of fun doing it. So,
yeah, that's absolutely perfect. And I will say, Danny, if you're a little confused like I would assume the Canadian lunch break is 40 minutes, while us here we get 15 to 20 minutes when allowed.
Well, John, I'm unemployed, so technically my entire day is a lunch break. So,
oh no, it's 20 minutes to eat your lunch and then 40 minutes to watch. We get an hour.
Oh my gosh, it's perfect.
Wow.
I'm so sad. You go in about how like these battle reports sometimes take like 2, 3, 4 hours. It reminds me like a few years ago as an April Fool's joke on like the Glacial Geek. I edited one of his battle reports down to 30 seconds, which was just him really excitedly explaining his army, rolling like be like, here we go, rolling a 1, and then just having the battle end and be like, and I lost. But there's there must be like so much that goes into it. So kind of how do you go in there with like sort of that producer director eye and decide, okay, how do I make this 4 hours like an eighth of the time?
You know what? After 3 years of doing this, we've got it down to almost a science, almost. But it's we got to catch the most important beats, and a lot of times we've all played this game, we love this game, but there's roles that don't really matter.
Mhm.
And those roles are, okay, so this unit is attacking this unit. Do we need to see every dice roll? Well, we know what's going to happen. It's weapon skill 3, their toughness 4. We know how this is going to work out. So we can, smash cut the rolls if we need to. We can make it go really quick, and we can show the key beats and the key moments. If something really cool happens, then of course we're going to show you that. But it's actually harder than you think to find those moments, because sometimes we can edit a game to make it look like one guy won. We can edit a
Mhm.
game to make it look like the other guy won. I mean, the magic of editing is pretty amazing. And our editor, Nick Fraze, is an absolute wizard. The guy spent so many hours in that first season, every episode.
Mhm.
And now we've got it down to where we've got a couple of editors on staff that are capable of doing this. And then Nick gets to kind of oversee it. But it's a difficult process to start. But, it's so far beyond me as far as his capabilities, because the guy is really a wizard. And I just come along and I write the narration based on what's happened. I'm literally describing the things that are important. And
Mhm.
sometimes between what I picked up and what Nick sees, or what our editors Mike or Ben see, we can talk about stuff and add some stuff and get some pickups and then find some moments that really make the game kind of shine. And some games are
Mhm.
boring, and we all have played those games, but we still want to make it look exciting.
Have you
And
ever
I
gone
think
in
we
and
do.
be like, hey, I'm going to really need you to redo this combat phase so that this unit actually wins because narratively it doesn't fit what I was going for?
No, we've never done that. We've never said, okay, no, we have to change this completely.
Sure.
Because we want the game to come to a natural conclusion. We
Mhm.
want the game to be as authentic as we possibly can. We don't doctor the results. We don't change the results. We've actually have one game that never actually made it to air because it was so incredibly over and lopsided in the first turn that we thought there's no way we can make a game out of this. We're
Right.
just going to have to reshoot something else. So that's extremely rare. It's only ever happened once. But we like to see the games play out. We want these players to make the decisions. We want them to see, and their decisions to show through. And then
Mhm.
we get to either make fun of them or talk them up or add to it, as as we do in the follow up. So, but it's a real full game. Like, you're not getting what we think the game should end on. You're getting
No.
what the game actually happened.
Sure.
For sure. I mean, though, why was there ever a temptation to do that? Like, though, as a way where, hey, this game was great up until this point when you made the boneheaded move to kind of go here. So, especially the way that you guys are set up, where you are editing everything down and doing this, almost having the opportunity to present like the perfect battle report. As opposed to, John deploys all the stuff on the line and Danny turn one charges him off the table just to pull from a completely random thing that absolutely never
Thing that,
happened.
yeah, never happened.
Never
Absolutely
happened.
not.
No.
Oddly enough, that's the game that never made it to the channel.
Oh.
But we've talked about it, as a team, that if in the very first turn things go so horribly wrong that, I mean, dice spike one way, do we want to just reset and start it over? Because in the end, we are entertaining, and we haven't had to do that yet. We know it's there. We know it's an option if we need to. If we see in that very first turn that, okay, this is just either that we didn't see something on the table and
Mhm.
somebody's able to shoot an entire army off the board. If we see that, we're going to correct that, and we're going to start the whole thing over again. We're not going to edit from that point. We're just going to start the whole thing over. But we haven't had to do that yet, which is fortunate. we try to vet the lists. We try to vet the players. We talk about how it's not a competition in as much as it's about a show, and it's about showing the best parts of the hobby, because that's what we want to do. We want to inspire people to play. We want them to see what the game can be. And really, we're trying to present a visual that matches the narrative in your head. We want the cool explosions. I mean, we want to see the gunfire. We want to see the cool Model Eye shots. So we really haven't yet. Would we? If it was that lopsided and somebody deployed on the line or charged their main character into all the guns and it died, yeah, we probably would have to, because that's not fun to watch.
I got to keep writing down these things. So you're saying don't charge your main character into a bunch of guns.
Don't charge the big guy into all the guns. That doesn't work.
JT, speaking of which, while John is writing down this tactical advice from you,
dude, this is free. This is why I do this show. I get literally free coaching from the best players in the world. You laugh, but man, just be lucky you're in Idaho. Otherwise, you'd only beat me like 90-75.
So I just watched that battle report, the underwater one with the Space Wolves. That was so cool. You guys did such a fantastic job about that, or with that battle report. Like, that's one of the things that I enjoy so much about Play On is like the quality. So what kinds of things do you guys try and emphasize to maximize that quality that quality production on the tabletop?
That's a great question. There's a lot of things, actually. Paint is one of the things. I mean, it's very basics. We want to have well painted armies, but that's not the be all end all. I mean, if something is painted really thematically and really goes together well, but maybe isn't the most technically great paint job, or it's a really cool conversion, then that has a place, because this is something that everybody can identify with, because it's somebody's passion, and that's really what shows through. That table was an idea that Nick had, and of course we all made fun of him because, you know, he plays Tau, and underwater Tau battle. Really, Nick? You want to do this, man? Because they're not fish, according to him. They're cow people. I still say they're fish.
No,
I say they're manatees. I mean, that's the sea cow, right? So you get the best of both worlds. It's a space
fire laser guns as well, though.
I like the compromise that you've done there, as the manatees are known to be vicious and warlike.
They're also known to run into propellers accidentally.
Right? So, which means they don't have any close combat skills. So that makes sense for Tau, right? That's my theory.
Hold on a minute. John, did you just insinuate that all manatees are suicidal? I just want to make sure that we're...
I did.
Okay. All right. All right.
Dude, wouldn't you be if you were a manatee in Florida? Come on now.
What? No, dude, you're in the best part of Florida, away from all the people. Sorry. All right.
That goes right here.
See, this is my point. I think space manatees have a place in Warhammer, and I want to have a space manatee army. I really believe it. I think it does. But to get back to the question, what we're really trying to do, and what really shows through in that battle report, is Nick had this idea and this concept, and then he came up with a way to make it look like it was actually underwater. With literally, I mean, they look like big, cool domes. Those are just plastic salad bowls, man. Like, that's really all those are. That look, but it's you flip them upside down, you put buildings underneath them, and suddenly now you've got a dome city. And it's that creativity aspect of it. Nick's a really great 3D printer guy as well. He's got some really cool bits and bobs that he does. He printed propellers for all his tanks, his devilfish and stuff, so he can put propellers on them.
Covering your Tau tanks and propellers is just
exactly the deadly manatees, right? So he goes that extra mile, and that's what comes through, I think, and makes our battle reports a little bit different. Yeah. You know, nothing wrong with the competitive battle reports, nothing wrong with even gray plastic on gray plastic and two guys having fun. But we just present it a little differently. You know, we want to 40 minutes. We want to do everything we can to show what this looks like. I mean, literally, I describe it to people as when you're 8 years old and you're playing with your toys and this is what you saw in your head, this is kind of what we want to put on the screen. Nice. And that's, I think it comes through. And yes, Nick is that passionate and Nick is that goofy. That's always what Nick is like. We get asked all the time, is that guy high? Is that guy? No, Nick is high on life, man. He is that absolutely crazy enthusiastic all the time. It's infectious. You can't help it when you're around him either. He's
Yeah.
that hopped up all the time. It's a riot.
He's super fun. Like John and I played against him at the Las Vegas team event this last year.
Yeah.
And
we did?
Yeah, it was our first game.
Heck yeah. Well, I know we played against two of the play on tabletop guys. I just didn't realize one was Nick.
Yeah, it was Tack and Nick's list where they had a bet to see whose models could kill the most models between their two characters. And by the last game, guys were feeding them models to die to get that up because they weren't going to finish well in the tournament as far as points go, but they were having a lot of fun. So it came down to which Tau character and what attack had an Ultramarine librarian, I think, who was going to kill the more models by the end of the tournament. It was pretty funny.
Danny, didn't we just be giant jerks and just murder both of those characters right away?
Well, no, it was we were giant jerks when we brought the 4 Lord Discordants.
Oh, that's fair.
Oh, no.
in our defense, we tried to bring 6.
Yeah,
but we forgot about the rule of 2 for that points level. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy army to play at that point level too, right?
So here's the thing, right? We're looking at it, Danny. We're like, we're going to do the team tournament because on the Sunday of LBO, it's like a great thing. Because obviously, I'm not going to be playing on Sunday on the champs. Danny, there's a chance you could be playing Sunday, but more than likely, you're not going to be playing champs. So having the team tournament's a super fun thing to do. But we're also mentally dead by that point, so we wanted something we could literally just push up the table, and we did. Yeah. And it was super fun. Though having to rewrite the list on the Friday night, but when we found out that our list was actually illegal for the event, was not as fun. But that's okay. We got through it. But it was a good time. So you say, like, Nick comes up with all these crazy concepts. He did, like, the dome cities. Like, he covered all of his manatee vehicles and propellers in some weird, like, anti-manatee way. Is there any ideas that he's wanted to do? Like, I'm stuck on this, guys. I literally wrote down in the style guide the Tower Manatee.
John.
Yeah.
The propellers are obviously the most dangerous thing the manatees could think of. So of course they're going to put those on their vehicles.
It makes perfect sense now.
They're going to be really scared of this devilfish. It's covered in just these deadly weapons.
In these death wheels.
And then so Nick, he created this great terrain. Has there been any sort of ideas that you guys have wanted to do that just haven't been able to be panned out, or have just been something that's just too big for that time?
Not yet. There's been some ideas that we've talked about that seem like they're really crazy, but so far, I mean, the cloud battle is one that was really well received, and then the underwater battle. Our big homage to StarCraft with the Hammerfall bunkers. That was actually a board that I built. It was Tack's idea, and we put all the bunkers and we put all. I mean, that board actually weighs a ton, but it was one of those things that just we filled an entire board with can we make this work? Okay, let's see if we can do it. We're actually running out of space to store the boards. Because they're
really
big, man. That's a lot of terrain. Our first Apocalypse game, there was another one where I don't know if you guys remember when Apocalypse came out. We knew it was coming, and we thought, okay, we're going to do an Apocalypse game. We want to do this. This is going to be fun. And then literally 3 days later, GW says, oh, by the way, we're bringing out Apocalypse, and it's going to drop here. And we're like, I guess we need terrain. So Tycho and I sat up one weekend and started building those cool overpasses and big buildings that are covered in moss and made it look all Horizon Zero Dawn. Again, that was a great team project because Tack had the concept. He said, I want to do like a Horizon Zero Dawn thing. Tycho looked at some images, I looked at some images, and then we ran with it. And the overpasses are my favorite because the pillars are actually beverage cans that we might have been imbibing from during the building. We sprayed it with that no stick spray that you put on your stairs so you don't slide, so it gives it a rough surface, and then dry brushed it and washed it, and it looks like concrete pillars. And it was just, it's one of those things. So we haven't met something that we haven't been able to do yet. Like if you've seen our Tomb World series that we did with Deployments on Television, oh my goodness, the giant Necron cannon was, I mean, you think that Black Templar sprue was misleading. That Necron cannon definitely stood out.
And so that was like Tycho. The main cannon, and then there was the 2 power conductors at the base.
There literally was, and it had a huge cannon top that kind of went out
Now,
around.
was
It
the diamond top? Was that like covered like a European cannon? Or would that be kind of
Oh
an
my
exposed diamond top?
I think when it fired, it actually retracted. No, I'm kidding. It glowed green though, so I don't know how that bodes well.
I see. All natural then. We got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
again, it's one of those things. We have so many creative people on our team. So many guys with great ideas, whether from Steve or Tack or Tycho, Nick, myself. We come up with this stuff, and the only thing we're really limited by is time and imagination. And we don't. The imaginations run wild in there, and it's literally the time to do it that comes down to it. So, but we do it. We go for it, and we see if we can make it happen. We haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, we've definitely put ourselves into some corners sometimes, but we love doing it, so it's a lot of fun. It seems to come through.
So you mentioned like the drink camp pillars and kind of things like that, and all of these boards and terrain you're making, and obviously like the third army in Warhammer is the table. What are some of like the greatest terrain hacks or things that you've made where you're like, whoa, that turned out really, really good?
I loved the upside down salad bowls. That was one of my favorites. I think that came out really, really cool.
It did.
The cloud battle too. To make that cloud battle, to make it look like all the pillars and stuff was above the clouds. A pillow may or may not have been harmed in the making of that table. But Nick went to the dollar store, which is like your go-to place for hobby stuff, and bought plastic wine glasses. And the stemmed wine glasses are clear and you can't really see them, but that's what's lifting everything up off the table and at different heights and different levels. So don't be afraid to try stuff. I mean, old school, like the board we did for the big StarCraft game, the front bunkers are all made out of toilet paper. It's all toilet paper and glue. I know,
Man.
right? Like you look at it and go, oh, it just looks like earthworks. No, toilet paper. Wife was really happy with me on that one.
During a
Hopefully,
pandemic as
yeah,
well.
I was going to say, hopefully you didn't do it during the pandemic, but
Yes, I did.
Oh man,
people
It's the most
seeing you leave
expensive
Costco
table.
with all of these rolls and being like, "You jerk! You don't need all of these." I'm like, "It's not for pooping. It's for miniature wargaming."
Exactly. I thought it was okay, right? $1 million table at that point, right? But the hacks are easy when it comes to things like just let your imagination go. The stuff you did in grade 5, grade 4, those things you did, like it really does work. And when it's painted up and it's dry brushed and you throw a little wash on it, suddenly it looks pretty amazing on camera. You don't have to have the high end super duper 3D printers. I mean, yeah, that's cool to have that stuff, but man, just slap it together, build it, glue it, paint it, and you'd be amazed how much better it makes your games.
Danny, what's your best piece of like homemade terrain that you've had over your hobby and career?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd ask you a question.
No, here I got this. I got shipped some acne medication in high school, and it came in like a cooler, and those coolers are kind of have like cool designs, right? So
Yeah.
I covered part of it in PVA glue, and then I sprayed it with spray paint, and the spray paint ate like parts of it, so it looked battle damaged because I made it into like a bunker. It turned out really nice.
Yeah. I set fire to a rhino to make it think it looked cool and melty, but it doesn't look cool. It just looks melty. And that's why I no longer make my own terrain, because I'm just bad at it.
I thought that was just part of your army.
It's real fair.
Death Guard, right?
That's fair. Hey. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's my hobby ability on display. Thanks, Danny. JT,
you're welcome.
You were part of last year's Nopen. So with we're talking about pandemic and things happening there, you helped take part on the Nopen, which was kind of a joint effort between like a lot of streamers and content creators to have some kind of event going on here. Tell us about your experiences with the Nopen.
That was a ton of fun. The Falcon put that together with his team of experts in a very short time frame, and we had talked about it amongst our team because with Las Vegas Open going down, we were like, well, can we do something to help Frontline out? I mean, because we love you guys, and it's all one big community. So we thought, can we do something? And then Peter's like, hey, we're doing this, and we're like, okay, where do we sign up? So we got involved as soon as we could, and it was a blast. I mean, what a cool concept. having the Drukhari list go all the way to the final table, and then making guys drive all over Florida to find all the parts for it, I think is my favorite part of that.
That was like the best part. And then just
Totally.
for people who are listening who might not be aware of what the Noping concept was, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it was?
So effectively, a bunch of content creators and personalities got together and were asked to put together a list that they would bring to the Las Vegas Open if it were to go on. And the idea being that you build the list and then you play that list round one, but you don't necessarily play it round two because it gets kicked over to some other streamers and some other personalities, and then they play your list. And then so on and so on until there can be only one at the end, and you have a big final, which the Art of War guys do. And it was list versus list, not necessarily pilot versus pilot, which was a really cool concept. And I was very fortunate in that my list made it all the way to the finals with a sneaky Drukhari list before they got a book, and it was pretty fun to actually get it there. And no, I didn't have 10-point Reavers. I'm not that kind of guy, but it was a really fun project to be a part of, and such an incredible weekend. We were just absolutely overwhelmed with the response. We thought it was super cool to be part of. We streamed 2 of the games on our channel, and then it was me watching the rest of them. And I mean, I was cheering along with everybody else. Making the brackets was the coolest part because we got to, bet on who's going to do what. And that was really, really neat. And I screwed up a lot of brackets by winning, and I'm very proud of that.
You should be.
So you said, I mean, there's obviously some logistical challenges from this here of like you make your Jakari list and you're like, okay, everyone has to play this army if it goes forward. You mentioned you sent a bunch of people around Florida looking for Jakari models, which is a much more common sight nowadays that they have their new book. Well, tell us about what happened back then.
So if I remember correctly, because it was Art of War guys that were going to play it, and I think it was it John and Nick, I think, that were going to play the final 2.
That sounds right.
And it was the sisters, the hashtag Shield Wall list, sisters and custodes, and it ended up being Drukhari. Well, they thought it was going to be the actual sisters list that Adrian was playing over at Tabletop Titans, but my man Brian Pullen pulled it out at the end there, and the Drukhari won. And they were like, "Oh, do we have this stuff?" So they literally sent out the flying monkeys and said, "Fly, my pretties," and gathered the models that they could to actually put them on the table. And I think they were actually building some of them, like just to get them on the table so that they could actually have the models, because nobody expected the list to win. And a clutch vect, and that flipped the tables, and Brian pulled it out. It was pretty exciting, that's for sure. But yeah, talk about throwing a monkey wrench. And I think the stream was half an hour late because they had to get the guys back with the models. So you never count your eggs until they're hatched, right? You make sure you have it all in place. But that was pretty funny that they were running around trying to find the stuff.
Who owns 2 Reapers? I mean, just basically you, I think.
I do. I have 2 Reapers. Yeah, then now that model is, I mean, it's still a good model, but that was sort of the go-to at the time because of our Technomancer shenanigans, right?
Yeah.
Still really good.
It's still very good.
Awesome. So you said the concept was you took one list and then that list progressed and the players didn't. Was there a time that you guys had in between rounds where you're just like, okay, look, this is a monkey can do this. You do this, then you do this, then you do this.
There was no real time between rounds to talk to the next player about what you were doing, which was hard because the way it worked out, Steve and I played the first round, and he played his Ultramarines. I played my Drukhari. And then we actually were going to play the second round as well. So I was going to play, I think it was TJ Lanigan's Demon List. Yep. Or it was going to be Steve playing, which we figured the Demon List was going to go through. And I actually thought I was going to be playing that because I thought the Ultramarines were going to take it because my book isn't that strong. But I got lucky and I outplayed Steve. He didn't see it coming. I got that second turn, and the bottom turn scoring was absolutely massive. I think that's a really cool mechanic now. And that's what really won me the game because I could set that up. But then he had this super complex Demon List to play.
Oh man.
And it so hard to play, and got about 45 seconds to talk about it.
Right.
And here you go, dude. And poor Steve. I mean, people gave him such a hard time over it. I'm like, all right, so I'm going to hand you a physics textbook from like third year university.
Exactly.
And the only references you're going to have to do the exam for your physics are going to be these 4 biology textbooks. Because that's literally what that list was like. It was like, this doesn't make sense, and I don't know what the heck that means. So it was definitely a challenge. So he had his moments. He played it as well as he could. But people also don't realize that poison weapons don't care about toughness 8 monsters. You know, Dark Technomancer Venoms at the time were ridiculous, and they just chewed through Magnus before you could even do anything. And that was really the game.
I got to table boss that game, and it was really fun to watch that happen. And I was like, after JT's like first turn, where where they kind of all the demons got to mid table, and then a lot of the big ones died, was super brutal. And I think a lot of people were like, "Oh no!" Not totally unexpected, but like once you saw it in action, it's like, oh yeah, this is probably a pretty good matchup for the Drukhari.
I think it was probably the best matchup that my list could have had in the entire tournament, to be honest, from all the other stuff that was there. Because, again, poison and 2 damage venom shots, I mean, good grief. He's on his invuln anyway, so AP doesn't matter. I'm just throwing out. So, because that was the time when splinter cannons were still rapid fire 3, right? So that's 12 shots from every venom firing it. I mean, bye, Magnus.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The worst. But since then, you do have a brand new book that's come out where maybe you have like been shamed almost for playing Jakari. Jakari is almost like a nasty word on the tabletop now, right?
Yeah.
So how do you deal from like going from this place where for Nopen you made this list that plays up to a bunch of factors and you have to be a really good player to do to play well, to now Drukhari where you have a really good book behind that army?
It feels shameful sometimes to walk to a table with Jakari, and it really does. Against players who've played a few games against them and who understand the mechanics of it and what you need to do. When they came out of the gate, it was like, oh, I kill the raiders and you still hold the objectives? Well, yeah, because I just dumped a bunch of OBSEC on there, and now you have to shoot me off that too. And people had no idea how to deal with this. I played a guy this last weekend. We had our provincial wrap-up tournament, and he'd never played against Dark Eldar Drukhari yet. He was running a version of Jamie Paris's Space Wolf list, which is a really good list.
Yeah.
He's not quite the caliber that he is, but he said, I watched your game that you played, Jamie, at Charity Hammer, and I thought this was really cool. And I thought, okay, cool. I said, have you played this yet? He said, no. And I said, well, I'm sorry about what happens next. He didn't score primary. At all? At all. He got 14 points.
Brutal.
And I felt bad, but it's also one of those situations where, okay, you failed your charges, and now literally my entire army just goes, hi, I'm going to eat you. And that's exactly what happened. But it was one of those things where when you don't know how to defend against the army yet, you make mistakes. You think you can get away with it. You think your toughness 4 and your 3-up armor are going to protect you, and they're really not. Unlike the AdMech currently, which it doesn't matter if you know how to defend against it. They're just going to blow you off the damn table anyway.
And how is it that you defend against it again?
Against Drukhari?
Yeah.
Kill the boats and then shoot what comes out. They're like lobsters.
Oh.
Drukhari are like lobster. You crack the shells and then you eat the gooey parts that come out.
Delicious.
You're going to go to that style guide for me to save that joke? Thanks.
No. I only save my funniest personal jokes in here, which is why there's less than a page after 2 months.
Makes sense.
It's all just blank pages, guys. I want you to know that.
Why you gotta ruin the magic like that, Danny? Holy cow!
I'm pretty sure that's my job here. That's what you keep telling me.
Yeah,
is that false? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sad times. But yeah, so like you have this great book coming out with Drukhari. And do you have like some third edition models still on the table so you can be like,
Oh, yeah.
look, I've been playing this a long time. I didn't actually just kind of jump over.
Well, this weekend I ran a 3 Talos, 3 Chronos list in Dark Artisan, so not the Technomancer. I ran it with the super durability, and my Chronos are actually the original Talos models. So the metal Talos Scorpion models.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm running as my Chronos. Because let's be honest, the Talos and Chronos look so close anyway, most people can't tell the difference. At least now you can see the difference. And they're bloody heavy, and people go to pick them up, and they're like, what the heck? I'm like, oh, yeah, the best part is if you get mad and lose, you can throw those at people and hurt them. they're just massive.
If you attend a GW event, I'm sure there's lots of socks just lying around the floor from people not wearing them. So you can just fill that on up there, use it as a weapon.
Tackle the nearest guy and take his socks, right?
The joke's on you, and none of those guys can afford socks.
Oh, sad times.
Yeah, I've got the OG models. I have I have original Ravagers. I think the only thing I don't have a Raven Strike Fighter, which is the old Forge World one.
Oh yeah.
And I don't have an actual Vect Dais of Destruction.
Well,
it's the
there
only
you
one
go.
I don't have.
JT's accepting donations at this point here. Send him the Vect Dais, and then also the Forge World model to complete its Dark Eldar collection. Because
and if you'll hold on just a second and check on the bottom of the screen, Tyler will add JT's personal home address that you can send those.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You are, thank you so much, Tyler. So good. I mean, I think after Danny wrecked you at 40K the other night, you wouldn't add stuff like that. But here we are. That's super good of you. Oh man. So yeah, JT, we met up at Charity Hammer. Part of the reasons I was there was to kind of help create content and kind of like little videos and things. And I definitely helped you create some content to explain your list. Why don't you take us behind sort of the genesis in your mind of your list description video?
There was a contest for the best list description video, and I thought, guys are going to talk about their explanations of what my counter is and how I'm going to forward deploy this, and I'm going to this. And I thought, it'd be way more fun to harken back to my roots, my deep, dark roots of professional wrestling. 30 years ago or whatever the heck it was when I started that journey, and pulled out one of my old lime green butcher suits. That's right. I squeezed into a butcher suit. Mad John Tenta vibes. I believe that's the phrase you used. Mad earthquake vibes. Is that right?
Yeah. Twitch was real happy the nipples were still covered by the straps. Like the
nipples were still covered by the straps.
I almost took down the Charity Hammer stream.
And so I think I actually got a pre-release view of that new bone relic that Black Templars got when I saw you in that costume.
And that's with a proper gusset in the actual in the butcher suit too. So yeah,
damn,
impressive.
He's a show,
Canadian made, baby. It's Canadian made.
I think my favorite part was, like I said, I filmed about 18 to 19 of those over the course of 2 days. At no point did you explain your list. Nope. At no point did you say what you were going to do. You just physically threatened your opponent for round one.
Yeah, I physically threatened his army. I think something about rip his space puppy balls off or something. Beat him pillar to post. Yeah, it was a classic wrestling promo cut, that's for sure. And then just started laughing. Couldn't finish.
Yeah. If you ever saw that one, there's a real hard cut right at the end there because the laughter is almost instantaneous. It was pretty good. Oh man, good times.
We had a bit of fun with that. That's for sure. That was such an amazing event. And to all credit to my opponent, Jamie laughed pretty hard at that. He thought that was pretty funny. So we had a great game. We had a fantastic game. So he went all the way to the finals too.
He did.
Yeah,
I have this thing about losing. Yeah, with Space Wolves, I always lose to the guy who wins the whole thing. Is that a thing, a nod to me, or how does that work? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but typically the guy who wins it all is the only guy who beats me. So maybe I'm good at this game. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe
That's the benefit of a single elimination event, is you can stick to that narrative, and there's literally no other evidence to say otherwise.
100%. My
true.
first round, I got my butt kicked by the guy who won. Hey, man, that's the only guy who beat me, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
If I
totally
had beaten
worked.
him, I would obviously have gone all the way to the end.
Oh, totally, right?
Yeah.
Easily. I mean, it happened during the Nopen, so why wouldn't it happen then? Why wouldn't it
It's
happen now?
legit.
Yeah.
I think we're going to stick to that narrative. We're forging that narrative into my head now. That's how it's working.
Lots of has been said, and I know Danny and I, we were talking about how there was no real surprises at the start of the episode coming out of the Louisiana Open, and sort of where the game state is. What is your current take on the game state of 40K?
Yeah, I think it's 90 to 95% there. I really do. I think 9th is the best edition that they've had yet. There's a lot of people who talk about aspects of 2nd or 3rd or 5th. No, man, 9th, it just wraps it all up. The wording is better. It's more succinct. Things make sense. Everything kind of matters. I think one of the biggest changes that everybody's worried about was the board size.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best thing that's happened to the game, because everything matters now. Deep strikes are harder. You can't just do whatever you want to anymore. And I think it's a really cool aspect of it. I think there's some tweaks for sure. AdMech is definitely broken. That's as broken as Dark Eldar were. And yeah, they were really, really super strong. But you see how they're being countered now, and you see how guys are fighting around them. And there's probably still some point balances to come. But the Adeptus Mechanicus ability to have 80 Skitari or 120 Skitari just shooting you off the board, that's just boring. Like, that's not fun. And that's part of the problem I had when the first few weeks of playing Drukhari was it wasn't fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people just didn't know how to react to it. And then you kind of try some weird stuff, and then stuff gets balanced, and then points change, and then people figure stuff out. But if you look at the top lists that were there, I mean, it was still Drukhari, it was still AdMech, London GT, AdMech. I mean, there's something to be said when you're winning all the games. And yes, top players will jump to top armies because that's what they do. Because for them, it's all about the wins and the points, and that's absolutely a valid way to do things. However, for the middle of the run guy to come up against one of those lists, that's not fun. Like my opponent Saturday morning, great guy. We had a ton of fun, but the guy scored 14 points. Like, how can that be a fun game in the end of things, right? And it was literally nothing I could do. He failed his charges, and am I not supposed to play the game at this point?
Right.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's a discredit to him. So I wouldn't want to do that, and I wouldn't want him to do that to me. So I think there's definitely some balance issues that have to occur, but I think it's about 90 to 95% there.
Let's say, Danny, to pick up on something that he said on there, what do you have to say to people who say that 2nd was the best edition? Because that seems rough.
Sure. Sorry, I was going to quote Mike Brandt, but then I decided not to. So I would say that they should.
That's fair. If you think 2nd edition is the best edition, just to kind of quickly cut away from there, you're forgetting vehicle facings, armor values, vehicle data sheets, war gear cards. It was the worst. And then, chat kind of really agreeing that 9th is a great edition. It's just sort of the books. There's this sort of idea that it's really only 90-95% of the way there because some armies don't have books yet. How much do you sort of agree with that, though? Are we still going to see the sort of problems we're seeing now as more books come out? Because we are seeing some of the earlier releases from 9th started to be left behind with a lot of these newer ones.
I think it's like, so. Oh, sorry. Were you asking JT? Or were you asking me?
Dude, I want to hear everyone's opinion, and if you want to tell me how to win at the game, let me know so I can kind of keep adding it on.
I won't
here.
because I don't like you. So I think that, like, I think JT is pretty much spot on there. I don't know if I go 95%, but I think that like 85% is there. But like, I think the tweaks that need to happen are mostly books need to be released and points need to be adjusted. Like, those are the things that need to happen. And I think that that'll put the game into like the best place it's ever been. Because 9th edition is more fun than any other edition.
Yeah,
and then I'm going to open this up to JT, but obviously for both of you guys here, like I said, do you feel when books are so yeah, I had a question in my head, then it totally went away, but it came back.
Yeah, okay,
So we're all
whatever.
good. No, it did. So there's this sort of feeling that GW is releasing a book and then releasing a counter book like right after it. So we had sort of like Drukhari come out, and then AdMech came out as a kind of a counter book to that, so adjusting the builds. And now we have Grey Knights and Thousand Sons just came out, and now we're seeing Black Templars come out, for which all we make fun of it. There seems to be like a lot of anti-psyker kind of things in there and ways to do it. Is it just sort of this constant sort of thing we're going to see with all of these books, where they're not directly necessarily counting everything, but just necessarily the last thing?
Like an arms race almost, like
Yeah.
a book's arms race. It feels like that. I don't know if that's the case though. I don't know if they, not to discredit GW, I don't know if they think that far ahead. I don't know if they've designed it with that in mind. AdMech can counter Drukhari for sure, but AdMech also counter absolutely everybody else. So that's a big thing. The Thousand Sons and the Grey Knights one kind of makes sense to come out together. I mean, the two most powerful psychics, and it's a really cool box set. And boy, I really love the new Grey Knights. They're super strong.
Yeah.
But again, is it a back and forth? I mean, that'd be a great way to do it, right? Like, it really would make sense to have something come out and again. But I think what we're seeing is the pandemic has really slowed release schedules so much that this is being extended. This drought of how do I deal with X is way longer than it should be, simply because of that. I hold to that, and I think that's a big part of it. I think the terrain rules are the best they've ever been. I think the table rules are the best they've ever been. And I think, when the codexes come out, I think you're going to see, when everything is all said and done, right before 10th edition drops, you're going to see a super balanced game that's going to be really, really fun. And I hope that, honestly, I hope there isn't a 10th edition. I know there will be. I know there'll be something along the lines of that. But even like a 9.5 would be nice, because I like this edition. 8th was really good, but it had its holes.
Yeah.
I think 9th is a real winner. And I think once this pandemic stops, if it ever does, and we get a regular release schedule again, I think we're going to see a really vibrant and lively game. And I think it's going to be super healthy. That's my hope.
Yeah. Question for both of you to wrap this up here. What is one change each of you would make to the game in order to improve it? Because we just talked about some of the issues that we're having. So one change that you would make in order to improve it. And I'm going to veto right away releasing all the books or changing the points. Because those are the easy things people already talked about. So yeah, JT, what is one change you would make?
You know what? I would probably, I'd probably say changing some of the secondaries. Some of the secondaries are absolute crap. Like, I'm just gonna say they're stupid. It's like, why would you ever take this? It makes no sense. And a lot of those are the mission specific ones. But some of the secondaries are just really, really dumb or way too hard to get. And I think that maybe when we see the whole game, maybe they make sense. But right now, it's like, I mean, every game, I'm going to take Engage, I'm going to take Rod, and I'm going to take, whatever faction specific super one that I have. It's almost every opponent I play. And I think that needs to change. There needs to be viable options besides Engage, Rod, and then my Codex one. Because there needs to be something more dynamic. That's what I would change.
Yeah. Danny, what would your change be?
I would say, all right, this is gonna be weird. So mine is secondary related as well. I would say release some faction secondaries for the armies that don't have books yet. Like as kind of an interim while they're waiting. I think that would be really good for the game. Oh, and also ban flyers from match play. Flyers.
Yeah. Okay, Innes Wilson. Let's just move on there.
I'm good with that too. I gotta be honest. I take me out of the narrative, man. This is a tabletop game. This isn't a strategic battle. No, this is tactical. I don't want flyers.
If you don't have your flyers on 36-inch plastic rods, you aren't even trying to narratively play the game.
It's not even to scale. All right, and Crypt Shadow Valkyries were the worst thing that Games Workshop has ever put out. I'm sorry. They take up way too much of the table. They're really cool, but like I hate them. Like, Have you ever played against someone with 8 Valkyries? It's the worst. You can't even see
Ugh.
what's going on. It's like an umbrella.
It is. It genuinely is. We just got a manta in studio.
Oh,
we
man.
just got a manta. And you want to talk about an umbrella?
Dude.
Yep.
That thing takes up the table.
You're just using that as a table, right? I mean, that's,
We're actually going to play kill team games on top of it, I think.
We had a guy who used it
really
as
fun.
his army display board.
Well, yeah, because it has an army in it.
Right, exactly.
Like, it comes with one.
Oh, and then just to throw my 2 cents in there, I would remove the core keyword from Contemptors.
Oh, that's spicy,
Ooh,
but I like that too.
That's a good one, yeah.
That's all I would do. That's just based on personal experience over the last couple of months of having to play against so many Volkite Contemptors. So many Volkite Contemptors. And I'm kind of sick against hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. That's no fun. And then we have Crypto Show let us know, you know what? I wanted to defend the boner, but I'm now against the boner. And I think I can't think of a better phrase. I can't think of a better phrase for us to leave off on here than being against the boner. JT, we talked a little bit about your work on PlayStation. Yeah, Danny, go.
What?
You said no.
No, let's not be against the boner. Dude, we're pro boner over here.
Danny's
100% pro boner.
Danny's taking some law school classes. I think he misread or there was a typo in one of his sheets.
My teacher kept giving me this weird look in class today when I talked about doing charity work, so maybe, I don't know.
JT, you already talked about your work with Play on Tabletop. Why don't you let everyone know where to find you if they haven't already found you?
You can find us on YouTube at Play on Tabletop. You can find us on Patreon. Find our Play on Tabletop there as well, and support us and find out the cool stuff we do and the behind the scenes and the great community that we got rolling over there. But primarily it's on YouTube. Play on Tabletop on YouTube. You can find us out. We got our finals coming up. It's going to be pretty cool. Like I said, we're going to do an aggregate thing with 4 games. It's going to be a lot of fun. Our new APOC video should drop soon. Going to see my big Phantom Titan on the table. I'm so happy I actually got to play with that.
That is not a metaphor.
It's a big Phantom, and he's got a big D Bombard. Yes, that's what it's actually called. It's a D Bombard. I'm not kidding. I'm not making it up. That's really what it is. But yeah, so we've got our finals coming up. So definitely check us out and follow us and watch us and comment, because we love hearing comments and we love hearing suggestions from people too. We take them seriously. We love interacting with everybody. So check us out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Danny and I will be back next week with one of 2 options here. We're either going to be able to track down the elusive Duke Falcon of the Frontline Gaming Network to come and talk to us about the wonderful game state of 40K and the way that only Falcon can. Or, failing that, we're going to drag Lore Bros back to talk about Black Legion, the most fantastic book with the greatest narrator character, Kayan. So, Lore Bros back at full strength or the Falcon. Either way, it's going to be a great time when you join us next Tuesday, live 9-ish on the Frontline Gaming Network. So yeah, for everyone, thank you so much for watching, tuning in, commenting. Remember to see any of the pictures we talked about at Grimdark FLGN on Twitter. Thank you so much, and we will see you next Tuesday.